Welcome back to Unjaded. Today we're going to be talking about how to create an aligned offer. And why we're doing this is because in this last round of Content by Design, we had 14 new participants come through. And for about a third of those people, I discovered that there was a missing piece along the way. All of a sudden, as we're creating content, we realized they didn't have an offer ready. And then there were another few people who had an offer and they were releasing it, let's say, and it just wasn't landing. And the reason for that was that they didn't really feel in their heart it was the offer for them. So today on this episode, I am going to walk you through 3 places in your human design that will help you to create your aligned offer, and then 3 cold, hard business truths that will help you to see if that offer is the offer that's going to sell and land with your people. Welcome to Unjaded. This is your straight talk, shoot from the hip, wrapped in a little bit of love, Human Design for Business podcast. We talk a lot here about clarifying your message so that you can bring in paying clients with ease. And ease is different from easy. Stick around to find out how we roll here. I'm your host, Vickie Dickson. I am a 2-4 emotional manifesting generator, light on the emotional, and I'm a quad right in human design. In real speak, I am an entrepreneur of 30 plus years. I've had every kind of business there is, and I always say that business is my love language. I can't wait to dive in with you here on the podcast. So like I said, we discovered along the way in Content by Design that there was a missing piece, and that was that people either didn't have an offer or didn't have an aligned offer. And why that matters is because all of a sudden, one of the participants was like, okay, well, I'm creating all of this content, but I don't have any idea why I'm creating it. I don't have any idea what it's for. Now, of course, we create and produce content in order to grow our audiences. And also, we want to be leading that audience into something, right? So that we're not just creating content for the sake of creating content. So as always happens in Content by Design, we ended up stretching it out because I'm in response, right? My strategy as a manifesting generator, your strategy if you're a generator, a manifesting generator, is to be in response. And you may find that in your offers and in your programs that it helps you to have a little bit of space around you for that. So I let people know when they come into any of my containers that this is like the overall plan, but there's going to be a time along the way, or maybe more than one time, where I'm going to respond to your needs and we're going to do something differently. And we did that actually twice in this round of Content by Design. We did that with creating an aligned offer. So we took a pause for a couple of weeks so that everyone could create the offer that aligned with their soul and then feel really good about creating content towards it. And then we did that by having a podcast expert come in because there were 3 or 4 participants who were ready right now to create a podcast. So my view is always like, let's create it right from the get-go. Let's create it. That doesn't mean that you're not going to give yourself space to adapt and to revise things as you go along. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But you might as well get it as right as you can right out of the gate so that you're not backtracking and redoing things. Make sense? Okay. So for the people who did have an offer, yes, there were a few who really enjoyed their offer, who they were coming through because the offer just wasn't selling as well. They had a messaging problem. Most often, they weren't showing people enough of what was happening inside their courses. They weren't talking about the mistakes that people were making. They weren't talking about the problems that they solved. Their messaging was just a little bit off. But for those that had an offer, a lot of times they had something that they had created, and I've been guilty of this myself, where they created what someone told them would sell. So instead of creating the offer that was on their heart, someone somewhere along the way, a business coach who was probably well-meaning at the time, said, you know what, I don't think that really has wheels under it. I don't think that really can sell. So they end up trying to promote something that's really not on their heart, and that's just never going to work, right? Okay, so how are you going to create that offer that's aligned? First, let's look at your human design. Obviously, if you're here, right, you're going to be looking at your human design. If you don't yet have your human design chart, you can pause this episode and hop on over to vickiedickson.com. It's in the show notes for you to run your human design chart so that you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm going to tell you 3 places that you're going to look in your human design. So when people come into a reading with me, probably when people come into any kind of a reading or session with you, they want to know their purpose, right? Over and over and over again. That's what we're all searching for, is our purpose. And not only their purpose, but how are they designed to deliver that purpose? So I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert here. Your human design doesn't tell you what you can and can't do. You can do anything. Your human design guides you to how you'll do what you do. How can you do what you do in the best way possible while honoring your own energy? That's what your human design is for. It's for leaning into your gifts and understanding the conditioning that you have is not bad or good. It's just there so that you learn lessons in life so that then you can help others to learn as well. So your human design is meant to allow you to exhale. It's so that you don't hold so tightly onto something. I need to find my purpose. I need to find my purpose. I need to find my purpose. That you can't even breathe, that you have no spaciousness around it. You know, so many times I see people in the entrepreneurial space, and maybe you've done this too. I know I've done this, where we are continually searching. Is this my purpose? No, that must be my purpose. Where's my purpose? It's got to be out there somewhere. Your purpose lives inside of you. My purpose lives inside of you. My purpose lives inside of me. That's why people cry when they come into human design readings. It's because they meet themselves. I've had so many people say to me, nobody knows that about me. It's like you've always been with me. How did you know that? Well, I know that because I can see it in your human design. I can see the highest expression of you. When I am looking at that human design blueprint of yours, I am looking at your newborn baby self before the world got its hands on you. And I am looking at this person who is here to be so great and who is here to live their gifts. So here's where you're going to look in your own human design to find your purpose and maybe a little bit about how you will deliver that purpose. Now, I have another spoiler alert for you, okay? This is not always literal. So the first place that I'm going to ask you to look is your Incarnation Cross. And I'm going to put a graphic in the show notes that shows you and labels all of these parts so that if you're newer to human design, you know exactly where to look. But when you're looking at your chart, the top 4 gates, so the numbers on the right-hand side and the numbers on the left-hand side, we're going to read the top 2 numbers on the right and then the top 2 letters on the left. And that is going to be your Incarnation Cross. It will probably be listed on your chart as well. Your Incarnation Cross is said to be the plot line for the movie of your life. And again, it's not literal. Mine is the cross of contagion. So I bring intensity and fire, and I also have a lot of nurturing energy in my design. Gate 27 is a theme in my design. It repeats. It's in some very prominent places. And Gate 27 is all about nurturing. It's mama bear energy. So I'm going to bring intensity and fire, and I'm going to hold you while I do it, okay? Like I'm going to kick your ass, but I'm going to love you the whole way that I'm kicking your ass. So my own gates are 8, 14, 30, 29. When we look at those literally, we would say gate 8 is all about contribution, authentic contribution. What am I here to contribute to the good of the world? Gate 14 is possession in great measure in the I Ching. It's often people who are really grounded in being well-resourced, in seeing opportunities that others don't see and bringing those opportunities into their community. Gate 30 is fire and intensity. It's clinging to these desires and having a lot. Whenever you see gate 30 in someone's design, it means that they are going to have some level of intensity. I have this defined in my design twice, which means that it's a theme, and it's also in a very prominent place in my unconscious sun. Here's like a little side note for you that you didn't ask for, but your unconscious sun is a big conditioner in your design. Your unconscious sun, so that's the top number on the left-hand side of your chart, it is how you bring light to the darkness. So we know that where you bring light to the darkness is where you're going to get kicked around the most, right? The evil forces are going to be out to get you there. But that's okay because you have lots of lessons around that. And like you, I have lots of lessons around that gate. Lots of lessons, lots of conditioning around how intense I am, how fiery I am. And you know the message for little girls, as certainly little girls of our generation. Soften, 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 right? So I digress. Gate 30, intensity. Gate 29, which is the last part of my Incarnation Cross, my unconscious earth, is a gate of commitment, understanding what things are right to commit to, the gate of saying yes. In its highest expression, it is devotion. So that Incarnation Cross doesn't exactly leap up and say, Vickie, you should be a human design business coach, right? And your Incarnation Cross doesn't say exactly what you should be. You should be a daycare worker. You should be a sales coach. You should be a human design practitioner. You really would make a great astrologer. No, your human design, your Incarnation Cross is not going to say exactly that. But what it's going to say is how you're going to do what you do. So when we look at mine, 8, 14, 30, 29, contagion, we see that I bring fire and intensity. I bring a commitment to your level of success. I see the opportunities that you can't see, and I am hell-bent on making a contribution to the world. So you can look at your gates of your Incarnation Cross and pull out pieces of that as well for you and how you do what you do. So the next place that I would look in your human design is your profile. I love human design profile. If you are new to this podcast, you can go back and see that I've done quite a few episodes on human design profile, because your human design profile is the role you play or the costume that you wear. It's who you be as you move through life. So again, I'm going to look at mine, okay? Mine is a 2-4. So this will be made up of 2 numbers. It's going to be listed on your human design chart. I am going to circle that on the graphic in the show notes so that you can go there and look at it if you're newer to human design. So your profile is how you move through life. I'm a 2-4, so I'm a natural influencer. For a second line profile, there is something that you are really, really, really good at that you don't even understand it's a gift because it comes naturally to you. So it needs to be recognized and pulled out of you. That second line as well needs a lot of hermit time. And if you've been in my world for a while, you have seen evidence of this in my world. You have seen me hermit away. I talk about this a lot because it is something that's really important to me. And why do I hermit away? Partly because I'm introverted, partly because I'm a second line, partly because when I pull away, when you pull away as a second line, that is when our community can recognize our gifts and call us out. We hermit back into ourselves so that we can be called out again to serve. And that fourth line is all about building community. And as a 2-4, I do that in a way that I don't even realize that I'm doing it, but I've done it for my whole life. When I look back over 30 years as an entrepreneur, I realize that every single iteration of my career has included building a strong community around me. So this is how I do everything that I do. I naturally influence others. Someone who's a 1-3 is going to be entirely different. I'm not going to do every profile here, but I'll put some links in the show notes for you because I've done every profile in a lot of places, podcast, blog, all of the places. But someone who's a 1-3, so the 1 is an investigator. The 3, they call it a martyr. I like to call it an experiential learner. So someone who's a 1-3 is going to research. They're going to have all the information. They're going to go deep with all of the facts. And then they are going to experiment with them. They are going to bump into life and life's going to bump into them. Say it's a VA, they're going to get a bunch of things wrong before they get it right. But they do that so that they can bring those lessons to their person. They're not here. If you're a third line profile, you're not here to get everything right first time around. I hate to tell you that, but it's true. And that's your greatest gift. Your greatest gift is that you can get back up and keep going because you learn a lot when you're bumped around. I don't have that as a 2-4, but you do as a 1-3 or a 3-5. So your profile, someone who's a 1-3, let's use the VA example again. Someone who's a 1-3, they're going to have all of the research. They're going to go deep. They're going to know absolutely everything about everything that needs to be known about their specialty as a VA. And then they're going to have tried a lot of things till they got to the right system for them. I'm going to do one more with you as well, because this was something that was really interesting that came up actually in the Content by Design course. One of the participants is a 5-2. Now, a 5-2 is a fairly rare profile, and the 5 is a heretic. The 2 is the hermit. Both of these lines need time to hermit away. Neither of them is real super excited about community. These are profile lines that carry a lot of projection. The second line will have people project onto them. The fifth line will project onto others. So the fifth line I always see as kind of standing behind a curtain looking out because they can see what's going on. They can see what actually should be happening and what shouldn't be happening. But lots of times people aren't ready to hear that. And the second line, people project onto us because, people project onto the fifth line as well, but people project onto us things that we're good at in a way that makes us think we have to do them because we're good at them. But ours is the gift of discernment as a second line. Regardless, neither of these lines, the 5 or the 2, really wants to be in community. And this person who came into Content by Design was working with a business coach who had her networking to grow her business. I'm like, that was the sound of me banging my forehead, by the way. What the heck is going on? This is why human design informed business coaching is really where it's at, because we can see into the soul of who you are so that you build the business that you're here to build. That's so important. And your profile, aligning with your profile, if you do nothing else in your human design but follow your strategy and live by your profile, I promise you your business will get so much better. Okay, third thing is to look at your circuitry. So your circuitry, this is what we're unpacking now actually in the Unjaded playbook. And I haven't actually talked about that on the podcast. So I'm going to take a little minute here and tell you about that. The Unjaded playbook is a weekly paid newsletter that I am sending out. You can try the first month for just $1. That will give you 4 lessons. And basically what I'm doing is building a human design course delivered by weekly emails. I didn't know that's what I was going to be doing when I started out with this. I just freaking love email. It's my very favorite thing in my business. And I have so many people asking me to teach human design, but I'm like, I don't really want a membership. I don't really want to teach a course, but I love email. So I started with this email thing. And all of a sudden I'm like, holy crap, I'm actually building a course here. So if you want to get in on that, you can try it for $1 for the first 4 issues. And then it's $39 a month after that. You can cancel it anytime. I'm going to build it regardless, but I put the link in the show notes for you. So what we're looking at in this first round is Human Design Circuitry. I have always said that if I was going to teach a human design course, I would start with circuitry. Why? Because your circuitry is like the black box of your human design. It's laid down and everything else gets laid on top of it. It is literally what you're here for, how you do what you do. So start to understand. And circuitry is made up of your channels. So just again, if you're new to human design, I don't want to leave you behind. The graphic is going to be in the show notes that's going to show you how to find this in your design. But any of the lines that are completely colored in between 2 of the shapes on your chart, it doesn't matter if they're black or red or another color. If the whole line is colored in between 2 numbers, that's a channel, and that's part of your circuitry. So there are 4 types of circuitry in human design, 3 plus kind of an honorary one: integration circuitry, individual circuitry, collective circuitry, and tribal circuitry. And this tells you how your energy flows in your design and how you will do what you came here to do and kind of how you're here to influence others. I think that's a good way to put it. So it's how your energy is designed to flow. And a lot of times the mistake that I see people making with this, people come into my world and they have a reading and it's like they've been told by a business coach that they're making it too much about them and they have to make it about everybody else. And that's why their things are not selling. And then they make it about everybody else and like their business dies. That's because some people, based on their circuitry, are actually here for it to be all about you. It's the you show, and people, you're leading by example. And it's really important that you do that. If you stop doing that, you can't build the business you're here to build. Some people are here to be really all about the other. And we actually had these 2 extremes in the Content by Design course this time. So you get a bonus reading when you pay in full. And there was a reading where I brought a person in and she was 100% about the other. Her entire design was for the other. And then the very same day I had someone and her entire design was about her. And both of these women had worked with business coaches who had told them the opposite. So really look at your circuitry. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a breakdown on this, okay? Integration and individual circuitry is empowering. You empower others by being empowered yourself. You lead by example. So the biggest mistake that you can make is not making it about you. Collective circuitry is all about sharing. So you are someone who either thinks in an abstract way or a logical way and who also speaks in an abstract way or a logical way. And this is interesting because I speak in an abstract way. You may have noticed if you've been here a while. And so many times we're like, oh my God, land the plane, land the plane, land the plane. But it's like we have to go round the mulberry bush, I call it, before we land on the thing that we're actually here to say. And your people are here for that, just like you're here for my abstract speaking. And then logical people, sometimes they speak in such a logical way and they've been told, you have to add more flowery language. You have to soften it. You have to make it a little bit more, but that's not what they're here for. That's not what you're here for. So your circuitry tells you that. Tribal people, tribal circuitry is all about support. I find this is not scientific. This is not something that you're going to see in the human design space, but this is my take on it with my own design and the design of the hundreds of clients that I have worked with. I see that tribal circuitry doesn't mean you have to do this, doesn't mean you can only do this. But I see that when you have tribal circuitry, because you are so supportive, you are very uniquely able to hold people in one-on-one containers for longer periods of time. I don't have any tribal circuitry, and it is painful for me to be in a long-term one-on-one container in my own, like for me hiring a coach or for working with a coach. So again, your circuitry doesn't tell you, you can do this or you can't do this. It's just going to tell you, like, you can be a coach with any kind of circuitry, you can be a coach, but you're going to do it differently based on your circuitry. Hopefully that makes sense. And there's only so much I can unpack in a podcast episode, right? I mean, I'd love to talk to you for 3 hours about this, but I'm not Tim Ferriss. So we're just going to kind of highlight it and we'll go deeper into it in future episodes, perhaps. Also, we go really deep into all this in Content by Design, of course. Okay, so that's the nuts and bolts of the 3 pieces in your human design. And then there's 3 kind of business questions, life questions that I'm going to give you to start to play with for finding your aligned offer, how you're going to, or what you're going to do, what you're going to offer the world. So number 1, let's start with what you do best. What is your superpower? What could you do all day long and never get tired of? And then why the hell aren't you doing that? I know why you're not doing that is because someone told you somewhere along the way that it might not be saleable, because that's happened to me too. But start to think about your superpower. I'm going to talk about a couple of the students in Content by Design, okay? Just to give you some example. Farah is a second line. So remember that second lines are naturals. They're naturally gifted at something or things, but they don't see it. They just have this way and they need their genius to be called out of them. Farah loves all things spiritual. She's a shaman. She loves to drum and dance, and she deeply longs for women to be in tune with their own power. And she discovered in the course of Content by Design that what she really wants to do is get invited into other people's containers to bring women back into their bodies. And she has been stuck in this one-to-one business model all along, but now she's finding her way with what lights her soul on fire. And that's what it's all about, because you may be able to push through and do the thing that is going to sell and that is going to make the money. But what if you could let that go and step into the higher version of what your soul calls you to do? What if you could actually step into, you know what, this is my superpower? And you know what always reminds me of this is, speaking of abstract storytelling, Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights. If you have not read that, do yourself the favor, listen to it on Audible. I promise you, you will be so glad that you did. To hear that man narrate this book, you feel like you're watching his movie. But he talks about how he wanted to move from rom-com into drama. And he refused offer after offer after offer that he could have done in his sleep. And they offered him millions and millions of dollars to get him to continue to do rom-com. And he's like, nope, this is my line in the sand. I'm going to do the thing that my soul is calling me to do. And I'm going to hold out for it. And I think that that's what happens sometimes. Sometimes we make a decision and we say, you know what, I'm letting this go. And I'm, standing in my power, doing what my soul came here to do. And the universe says, okay, let's play. Show me how badly you want it. I'm going to give you some breadcrumbs. I'm going to drop some things here that will be really easy for you to take because you're already good. It'll be easy. You can just call it in. But when your soul is like, nope, I'm here for this other thing, that's a whole different ballgame. Tersha was another student in Content by Design, and she helps to bring women through burnout by getting them back into their bodies through somatic exercises and really tapping into their feminine energy. But not feminine energy in the way that we are seeing it, where everyone hates the patriarch and all of that stuff. She has an entirely different way of doing things. And before going through Content by Design, she was really struggling for how to get the language around this. Was it okay for her to do her soul's work? Because nobody understood what it was that she was doing. But she was called to it. She knew this was the thing that she could do all day long. So let me ask you, what do you love to do? What fills your soul? What could you do all day and never tire of? Me? I build businesses. I build businesses, multi-six-figure businesses over and over and over again. And I always say business is my love language. And yes, there are a million other things that I can do, and I have as a manifesting generator, but they're not what lights my soul on fire. And I want my soul to be lit up and on fire, and I want your soul to be lit up and on fire. Question number 2, what does the market need? Yes, there's a place for absolutely everything, but really you want to be taking a look and seeing. So I'll give you human design as an example. A lot of people think that human design is saturated. It's not even close to being saturated. I mean, I can't tell you the business circles that I'm in that people are like, I have no idea what human design is. People haven't heard of it. It's not saturated. There is enough awareness around it that it's going to be a little easier to sell. So the more awareness there is around what it is that you're offering, the easier it's going to be to sell. If you're the first person who's coming out with something, you're going to have a little bit harder go of it. It doesn't mean it can't be done. I'm looking out my window at an evergreen tree. Making crafts with popsicle sticks and evergreen tree, I was going to say leaves, they're not leaves, but evergreen tree bits, that may not be something that the market needs right now, right? So how can you put what your soul loves to do into something that's actually needed in the market? And chances are, if it has a calling on your heart, then there is a need for it in the market. And then number 3, what will people pay for? And what people pay for is the result. What people pay for is solving their problem. What people pay for is you getting crystal clear on who it is you serve and how you serve them. I had the experience this week in a Voxer coaching day of working on someone's sales page. We did a whole bunch of stuff, but one of the things we did was created a sales page. And when she first gave the first draft of her sales page, it was, about more and better and all these things. I'm like, no, people don't buy people buy the result. So they don't buy better, longer, shorter, more joy, no, they're buying the actual result of the thing. They're buying getting to the other side of their problem. They want their problem solved. So what problem do you solve that people will actually pay for? So I hope that's been helpful for you. I am going to be offering something for you to come in and create your aligned offer in 30 days or less. I don't even have a name for it or anything right now. It's just been percolating. I've been in response to it for a couple of months now, and it's going to be coming up in January. So I'm going to pop the wait list in the comments there for you. If you want to be the first to hear about it, it's going to be beta, which means that it's going to be super great beta pricing. And within 4 weeks, within 30 days, you're going to have an aligned offer that you can start to sell so that by February, you can be making money in your business. I'm going to also show you how to launch that offer in a beta way so that you actually test it in the market, have it validated, and then can sell it over and over and over again. So this is going to be creating your aligned offer and launching your aligned offer within this 30-day container. So that waitlist or early bird spot is in the show notes for you. Next Monday, I'm going to walk you through an exercise that you can use to understand and step into your greatest gifts as we move into 2025. And then in January, you're going to start meeting some of the women of Content by Design because we're getting ready for another round. So I'm going to introduce you to them, get you into their world so that you can experience the tools and the tricks that they have up their sleeves, and also so that you can improve your own content. They're going to take you through some of the lessons that they learned to make their content even better. So hold on to your hat. There is lots coming up for you.